Hi there, welcome to the very first episode of Vision Quest. My name's Ashley Apap and I'm a writer and comedian from Melbourne, Australia. Every week on Vision Quest, myself and a guest will be going on an adventure together, sharing our perspectives, celebrating who we are, and hopefully learning something new from each other. I first planned to produce this podcast in February of this year. The idea was to interview people I enjoyed spending time with while going for a long walk together, enjoying nature and each other's company. Clearly, because of the pandemic, I'm no longer in LA and I'm back in Melbourne and in a very strict but very reasonable, considering everything going on, lockdown. And yes, I am 25 after roaming the world and trying to do what I've always wanted to do, and now I'm living back with my parents. Yes. Okay, enough about that. But basically, what I want the podcast to be is what it's going to be, just on Zoom instead. Every week, I'll be asking the guests the same 8 questions, which I myself will be answering in today's episode. After we've learned a little bit more about each guest, it's their time to take over the podcast, as they talk about a topic of their choice. And here's the important information. It can be about anything they want, as long as it's something that they're passionate about. So now, without further ado, I'm going to be answering the questions that I have for each of my guests, and then we'll get into my topic today, which is why I want to make this podcast in the first place. Question 1. What did you want to be when you grew up, and why? I was very heavily influenced by the Spy Kids franchise, as I'm sure many of you out there watching and or listening were as well. Junie and Carmen Cortez were a powerhouse sibling duo, and I don't think any kid that grew up in the 2000s is able to think of spycraft or gadgets without thinking of the Cortez family in general. They were pioneers, they were icons, and they made being a spy seem like a way of life, one that I could really get behind, which doesn't make any sense because I'm not coordinated at all. And every time I've ever played hide and seek, this is not a joke, I have either almost peed my pants or peed my pants if I'm the one hiding. So I could never be a spy. Sometimes you just gotta let a dream be what it is, you know? Just that, a dream. And nothing more. I also wanted to be a fairy. Yep. My godsister and I remember had multiple birthday parties where the theme was the kids' TV show in Australia, The Fairies. I know in my accent, if you're not from here, it sounds like I'm saying the furries. I'm not, but I mean, it's not that far off. There was a grown man in a bumblebee costume and he had a ridiculous voice, so close enough. And finally, I always really loved storytelling and performing, and whatever that means. I really loved playing by myself and playing make-believe, which is kind of sad, but I think has really informed the kind of person that I am today. I do a lot of improv and stand-up and just performing in general. And I think it made me really resilient and made me kind of love myself from a young age to know that I could make shit up as I was going along and it would be a fun, enjoyable time for me. And I always thrived if we had any kind of English assignment that involved like making a play or making a video or something like that, because that meant that I could just opt in for that instead of writing an essay. Or I'd like write a story instead that was really dramatic and over the top and went in these crazy twists and turns. That definitely had plot holes. To this day, I'm good at dialogue, I'm not good at plot. And I would say I still want to do that. I want to be a comedian and a writer, and I am doing that. And just because I'm not getting paid to do it does not mean that that's not what I am, okay? A technicality doesn't mean anything because it's 2020 and the world is on fire anyway. So why not say you are a thing if that's what you want to be? Question 2. What is your favorite thing about yourself? I would say my favorite thing about myself is my ability to articulate and understand what I'm feeling. I didn't realize how much of a strength that is. A lot of people my age and older as I'm growing up, I realize don't have the ability to even know what they're feeling when they feel it, which I think is kind of normal, but then they go throughout the rest of their life and don't look back on, hey, why did I feel that way? Why do I think that is? Could that be because of this event or this reaction or this thought or whatever it is? And I think it's allowed me to be more empathetic towards others, because I think when I notice someone is feeling something specific or they have a reaction that's really outrageous, it's easier for me to kind of go, okay, well, why would they potentially be feeling that way? So I think that's something that I like about myself for sure. Question 3. What's your favorite feeling? My favorite feeling is when you've had a really long, busy day, whether that be like productive or you've just been doing a lot of things that maybe don't even make you feel good, but once you get home, you're brushing your teeth and you're just about to finish brushing your teeth and you know you're about to be in bed. And you get into bed and you fall asleep like lying flat. Like you don't move and you wake up and you're still in that position. When you're that tired that you are able to go to sleep straight away, I love that feeling so much. I feel like that started for me when I was little and I'd be in the car with my family and we'd be on our way back from somewhere. I would close my eyes and try and guess where we were on the road in relation to where we just were and our house. And it was the most satisfying feeling in the world to open my eyes right at the moment that we were getting into our street or into our driveway. And it felt like I clocked a game. It felt like I won. And then after that, to get in bed and be all cozy and then have a beautiful restful sleep, I love that. I wanted to just say my favorite feeling is being tired, but I feel like that would sound strange and also isn't true. I don't like just being tired, but I hope that explained it a bit better. Question 4. What's your happy place? My happy place, honestly, is most bodies of water or like adjacent, being near a body of water and also being near mountains. I know that's a tall order to like get them in combination, but being near either, even if they're standalone, like it's just mountains or it's just water. But I think nothing can beat the feeling of like floating. When I lived in LA, I lived by this public pool where I swam a lot. And at the end of all of my laps, I would just float for like 10 minutes straight. And I know that it weirded other people out, but it's the most relaxing feeling ever. I have pretty widespread chronic pain in my body, so I really like the feeling of being completely weightless because floating is the only time that I'm not in some form of pain, really. So it's always really peaceful to me and really reassuring to be near water in the hopes that I might just float. Question 5. What is your favorite song to cry to? I have a whole playlist of them, and I have since I was about 12 years old. Not the same playlist. I was on iTunes originally, and now it's a Spotify playlist. So different things going on, but some songs have definitely translated over. Funnily enough, not funny, kind of sad maybe. When I was in year 7, so I was 12 years old, I had the best year of my life. I remember laughing till I cried, like happy tears every single day, feeling really good about myself, finding all these new things that I really liked and just enjoying myself. But simultaneously, I would come home every night and get the old 32 gigabyte silver iPod Classic out, go to my cry playlist and cry myself to sleep. Yep. I had nothing bad happening in my life. I mean, maybe puberty, but I think maybe I cracked a code because that was the happiest year of my life. And it might be because I just let my feelings out every night. Violently, I must say. Maybe too much, but maybe I'm onto something. Maybe 12-year-old me knew what was up. And what is up is skyrocketing rates in depression and anxiety. Yeah. But for real, my number one song to cry to is Mumford & Sons' After the Storm. Question 6. Who's someone you admire? Okay, well, here's the thing. I know I'm cheating, and it's the very first episode. I didn't say someone's, I said someone. But I feel like it would be unfair for me to just say one person, so I'm going to do what I always do, overcommit. I have 5 people that I admire just for today's episode. Maybe I'll add to it, I don't know. The first one, a duo, of course. I love a female friendship, and this one is top of the ranks. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler have been huge influences in my life. From, I think, 10 years old was when I started to notice them on SNL and watch Mean Girls for the first time and saw them both and noticed that Tina Fey wrote the movie and all these things, and it kind of just changed everything for me. And they lift each other up. They're both really funny. They love working together. And I hope that if I'm ever successful in any way in what I want to do, that I'm able to work with other really funny women who I admire like they work with each other. Also, a more present day version, a newer admiration, if you will, are Mitra Johari and Patty Harrison. So I saw them both perform stand-up for the first time last year at some point in 2019. Wow, who remembers that time? Not me, because I cannot remember what time of year it even was. But I saw them at Largo in LA, and they were performing at Nick Kroll and Friends, which is Nick Kroll's monthly show at Largo. I mean, who knows if it'll be back? That's just one of the many gifts COVID-19 has given us, isn't it? The death of live comedy. It's fine. Everything's fine. So anyway, I saw them live. They were both insanely hilarious and like independently have such unique voices. But also, I found out later, are also great friends who work together and are both just incredibly funny. And I can't stop listening to Urgent Care, which is a podcast that Mitra Johari is on with Joel Kim Booster. And it's incredibly funny. Anyway, check them all out. And finally, the last person I admire is my nonno. So my nonno moved here to Melbourne when he was 22 from Italy, and he pretty much left his family behind. He went back and saw them when my mum was, I think, like 6 years old. They went there for 6 months or a year, but he didn't see his parents again after he left. So that was a big risk to take in moving here. He survived through the Great Depression, through World War II, and he made a very wholesome, beautiful life for himself and my family here in Melbourne from pretty much nothing. He has the most incredible stories. He's just like, I don't know what other word to describe him as, but like a scallywag, you know, like he's a scamp. He's cheeky. For example, he sold a man a bag of potatoes in exchange for his truck license. Not something you hear every day. In all seriousness, while I was in LA, he was like my number one supporter. Obviously, grandparents are old. I was so concerned that something would happen to him while I was away, and he has so many health issues. And obviously, I felt guilty as well for being away from him through a time when one of his health issues was really, really severe. But never once did he tell me to come home. He always was encouraging me and telling me, you need to be there trying to do what you want to do. And that would be so difficult for him to do that. But he said, I did it when I was your age, and I knew that it was the right thing to do. As long as you're working hard, that's all that matters. And I'm just very, very, very grateful to share the same DNA as him and to have learned so much from him. Okay, question 7. What's some weird kid stuff you used to do? Okay, I have one story in particular, which I think kind of ties into what I wanted to be when I grew up. Remember, a spy. We were in Las Vegas when I was 6 years old. We went on our first trip to the US, and we were staying at this hotel, and I remember I was in the pool. And you know when you're a kid, you can just like make friends with people on vacations and holidays. And it's just a very bizarre thing, but something that I admire in children for sure. Scratch everything I just said, someone I admire, children. And so there was this girl. I remember distinctly her name was Rachel, and she had red hair. Don't ask why. Who swam up to me, and she was a little American girl, and she started talking to me, and she's like, hi, what's your name? And something clicked in me, guys. I don't know what it was, but I was like, this is the role of a lifetime, and I'm going to win the Oscar. And so I just put on a little accent and decided I was American too, and gave her a fake name and convinced her that that's who I was. And then I went back to my family and told them. They were like, why? And I took it very seriously and said, we have to do this for the rest of the trip. Anytime we see this family, I'm American. And didn't bother to think, wait, why are my parents and sister Australian? No. There's no logic when it comes to a great performance. Okay, and question 8. Honestly, this one's a big one for me. Do you think aliens are real? 1,000% I do. I am not sure if they're here, but they're definitely out there. If you think that we're the only things that exist, that we're like the highest being, just because... Sorry to interrupt the episode. Something went wrong with my microphone at this point, so there's just going to be a shitty quality sound for a little bit. Just a little bit, I promise. I know, one episode in, not even halfway through it, and there's already a mistake. Anyway, back to it. Just because we can function at a higher level than animals, you're not thinking clearly enough, because there is no way it's just us. Are we really that big-headed and selfish to think that we are the be-all and end-all? Like, we don't know why we're here. And we probably never will, and that's fine. But the idea that some people are just being like, yeah, you know, this religion or this religion or this or this or this is real, but aliens are not. They could both be real, absolutely. I'm not saying religion isn't possible or real at all. I'm open to literally everything. One of those things being aliens. Because do you also look up at the stars at night and realize, wow, this is only as much as I can see away from me. And the way that space works, if you didn't know, and like light years, is that what you're seeing is a certain amount of light years away. It's time, which means that theoretically we could look back in time through space, and that if there are aliens out there and they're seeing us, they're seeing back in time. Wait, I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but the point is that there is no way that it's just us here. That what would be the point? There's this whole universe. It's so big, and we have only been able to explore so little of it. For us to think that it's just us is like the most closed-minded argument I've ever heard. Whether you think aliens are like potentially good or bad is another thing, but they are definitely there. And those are the questions. I hope you like them. I hope you look forward to all of our guests answering them, and hopefully answering them honestly. It's up to them. They can do what they like. But I just want to talk about why I wanted to start this podcast in the first place. And honesty is a big part of it. So there are a few main things that I want this podcast to be, or to represent, or to foster throughout its evolution, I suppose. Jesus, what the fuck am I saying? Anyway, I would really like this to highlight how important authenticity is to me. And in general, I just think it's really important for people to be exactly who they are and own that, for them to own up to when a part of themselves may be no longer serving them, or when they're being hurtful or harmful to others. I think that's really important in general in life for us to grow. But I think it kind of starts from being who you are and liking what you like without fear of judgment. I think it's fair enough that you're not always going to like what other people like. And same goes for you. If you're listening to this and this does not sound like your cup of tea, that's completely fine. I automatically already have the instinct to apologize for what I'm about to say because I'm a big people pleaser, but that's something I need to work on, and to remember that I don't need to do anything for anyone else but myself, really. So sorry if this makes you feel sad. I'm not looking for pity or anything. I just want to be honest. Like I said, I was bullied a lot when I was little, and one of the main things that I kind of noticed that came from it was people kind of picked on me for things that I liked and that they were kind of weird, and that I was like very overexcited about them. Like I said, it's important to grow and to know when you are being, in my case, too much. But I think something that I didn't realize was me being very excited and happy about the things I like and really loving who I was at that time was a threat to those kids. They kind of were in a state, I'm sure, where they were working out their own things, their own issues, and they saw someone unapologetically being who they were, and it kind of made them frustrated. And not to say that when I was feeling good and happy and excited about the things that I liked, that there weren't also bad moments as well. I just kind of want to explain what led me down this kind of windy path of realizing how important it is to me personally to be authentic, and how it's opened my life up in ways that I didn't really even expect and didn't even really consider until now. I don't think that in being whoever you authentically are, you need to necessarily get others to like you. And that's something I am struggling with all the time and have been since I was little. I mean, especially when people tell you that you're not likable for some reason, all you want to do is prove them wrong, which is probably why I do comedy. It is a defense mechanism. And some of you may be saying, you said a couple times that you do comedy, but you are not being funny. And people are multifaceted. And so I think it's important to share every bit of you, because this sincere, emotional, over-talking thing is me, but also I do big stinky farts. So take it or leave it. As the Jonas Brothers once said, I am who I am. I can't help myself. And if you don't like it, get with somebody else. Bitch. They didn't say bitch, but I am. I am a bitch, and I am saying bitch. I'm a bad bitch. Debatable. I also think it's important to be who you are, just because, like I said, we live in a society where we kind of want everyone to like us all the time. But now, don't walk out on me just yet, because I am going to say something that may blow your mind. And no one's ever said it before. I'm the first one. You can't have others like you, really, truly, until you like yourself. And that's the tea. Is that the right application of that phrase? I don't understand. But for real, I'm always wanting to do and be better. And I want to use this podcast as a way, not just to learn new things about what other people like, but also just to make people feel comfortable in liking what they like and being excited about it. Because I feel like, especially at this age, please let me know if you agree or disagree. I am 25, and even though I have the rotting body of an 80-year-old and the soul of a 12-year-old, truly, I noticed that a lot of people my age are kind of getting back into this phase of shitting on people for what they like and judging them. And I just don't understand it, because what someone else likes and fills their time with is not what's important for judgment. I think if you want to judge someone, go ahead, but only if it's based on their actions. People do shitty things, and that's what we should be judging and criticizing them on, not the fact that they like whatever it might be. I don't know, 18th century poetry. You can tell that I know nothing about 18th century poetry because I don't have anything else to say on that. But if you like it, then yeah, you enjoy it. You read that shit. You emote after you read it. You do you whatever you do with your 18th century poetry is your business. And you have the right to spread it to the world. And if you love 18th century poetry and you want to come on this podcast and talk about it, let me know, because this is a space where I want people to be able to do that. And that's the point. And being in comedy as well, I find that jokes are a very weird gray area where I think some people think that because comedy exists, everything can be funny. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think everything can be funny with context, but I think what makes something funny is punching up. So when people make fun of people who don't really have any reason to be made fun of, it's kind of a toxic environment. And I think I've noticed a lot just in different environments around comedy as well. There's lots of people just like talking shit about other people they know. And that's something that I kind of am uncomfortable with. As I said, being someone who was bullied, it makes me feel really bad for other people when I hear people making fun of them. Unless, like I said, they are being little shits with their actions and behavior. In that case, absolutely. Go off, queen. Talk about that person's racism and bigotry, because those things need to be addressed. So I think it's important to hold people accountable when they're being shitty, but otherwise I think we need to find a way to just let people live their lives, you know? Also, in being open and vulnerable, it actually decreases stress and sadness. I don't have any statistics on this, but I'm sure it's true. Because in general, think about it. Like when you hold stuff in, it promotes stress within you. I have an inflammatory disease in my body. And so when I'm stressed, it's so much worse. And I notice not just like the physical issues that it puts on me, but emotionally, like holding things back is not fun. When I was living in LA, I was really, really anxious for a long period of time. I have generalized anxiety disorder. And there was a period where I was on the phone with my parents every day and I just lied to them. And I just acted like everything was fine. And I just kept on kicking along, having panic attacks and dealing with it. I shouldn't be laughing, it is serious. But I think if I had just told them that I wasn't doing well, there would have been this weight off my shoulders because I didn't feel like I had to carry everything. And I told my friends that I was with and around daily in LA, but it's a very different thing. And I know that the reason I didn't tell them is because I didn't want them to be stressed out because they were so far away from me. But in holding it in, it created so much more stress and pain for me. And that, along with a plethora of other times in my life where I felt that it's best to hold back who I am, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, anything like that, have led me to understand how powerful it is and how important it is to be open. Not just that, I think it's this weird kind of catch-22 superpower where when you do it and people need to hear it, it can help them. But also, like I said, some people can be really threatened by it and don't like hearing what people have to say. But I think it's really important to keep doing it anyway. And that's why I'm doing this. Also, on authenticity, I think part of what led me to decide to do this now, I could have just put it off and decided never to do it because it wasn't going to be what I wanted it to be. But I had this idea and I really, really was excited about it. And I think in the past, I have made things or gone along with endeavors that my heart wasn't fully in because it felt like I needed to prove that I was doing something, especially moving across the world and having this weird expectation that if things didn't go well and I didn't succeed in the way that I had planned, which was screenwriting, that people would think I'm a huge failure, that people would think that I was doing nothing while I was there. I was working a day job that I actually really loved and then doing lots of open mics and improv shows and classes at night. But I knew that because my standards were so high, I projected that out onto everyone else and I assumed everyone else is going to think that I need to do the best of the best. I need to succeed monetarily. I need to succeed in some way publicly so people can see that I'm doing well. Otherwise, what was this all for? Why did I move here? And so about a year ago, I think, I started making these videos for my YouTube channel, which I started at that point. And they, honestly, some of them were fun. Some of them were fun to make and I think represent pieces of my voice or whatever you want to call it. But the majority of it, I think, was me trying to make something for the sake of making something and not because I was excited and had an idea that spoke to me and that was from my perspective or felt unique or interesting to me, but I didn't care about it. So this is something that I am genuinely excited about and have wanted to do for a long time, which I think is going to mean that whether it does well or not, I mean, probably not. I'm not really anyone important, but that's not the point. The point is not to do things so that you can become important or that you think this will launch you into something. It's to make something fun. And right now, it's 2020. Things aren't great. I think there's so many reasons to hide away and pull ourselves away from each other. Or on the flip side, to overload yourself with communication online because you feel like you can't survive without social interaction. And I feel like I know a lot of people who've been struggling with either side of this. And I, after months of feeling really bad, honestly, am finally at this place where I know that what I need to get going again is to just have open, honest conversations with people who share values with me, who are excited to talk about things that they like. It feels really weird filming this just myself. That's the truth. Doing this by myself feels bizarre, especially because I haven't been incredibly social. I have like one standing social appointment every week and then I have random phone calls with friends. And so my voice even feels weird. So, un momento, por favore. Okay, I got my water bottle. Great. Like I said before, I'm sorry if this isn't your cup of tea, but also that's fine. This isn't for you if it isn't. So that's very okay with me because I'm trying to get better at accepting that not everyone will like everything you do and it's not for them anyway. You need to do things for yourself. So I hope that if you enjoyed this, you will continue to come back and listen to the episodes of the fun guests that I have lined up. We'll be talking about a range of different things and there will also be episodes in the future with me, again, just talking about something that I love. But I promise none of the other episodes by myself will be this self-reflecty and introspective. So I'm excited to go on these little vision quests with you all. I really appreciate you watching and or listening to this, and I can't wait to do more, honestly. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe if you would like to. And if the podcast is not already, it will soon be on pretty much all streaming platforms. So you can find it by searching Vision Quest. And if you want to follow me on social media, my Instagram, Twitter, and yes, TikTok, I am 15, is at AshleyCrapApp. And that is another poo joke. There you go. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. I really appreciate you being here.